You might think that you're ready for real love, but if you're pouring all your emotional and romantic energy into someone who is stringing you along, not available, and has been clear they don't want a relationship, it's time to wake up and recognize that you are putting a giant wall between you and the possibility of love. My letter today is from a woman I'll call Carlen, and she writes, "Hello, Anna. I want your help to understand the situation I'm in because I feel very confused about it and I can't make sense of it. I don't know if I'm deluding myself or if my intuition is right." All right, I've got my fairy pencil here. I'm going to circle things I want to come back to on a second reading, but let's go through Carlen's letter and see what's going on. She says, about 2 years ago, I met a man at an online school for self-development and healing from trauma. He had a dismissive avoidant attachment style. She abbreviates it DA. While I had already done a lot of healing and I considered myself now to have an earned, secure attachment style. Now, attachment styles, if anybody doesn't know, it's sort of a philosophy of what happens to the way that we have relationships as a result of the type of relationship we had with our mother or caregiver when we were a kid. And so dismissive avoidant is somebody who pulls away a lot, doesn't like to commit, feels uncomfortable with the expression of emotion, perhaps. And then our letter writer here says that she's done a lot of work and now considers herself to have an earned, secure attachment style. Secure is the ideal of what a person can be if they weren't abandoned a lot or neglected a lot, and they just feel kind of okay in relationships and pretty good at spotting red flags. But I would guess that the reason she had to work on it is because it was some kind of insecure attachment style, which can be kind of like putting up with a lot of bad things, chasing after somebody. All right. I had learned a lot about the dismissive avoidance style because 2 of my previous partners had this issue, and I poured my heart to try to understand them and improve the relationships. The relationships still didn't work out, but I felt a great appreciation and care about the challenges and qualities of people with this kind of attachment style. Well, we're going to come back to this. I thought it could work well for me if I found a dismissive avoidant partner who was willing to heal and become securely attached. I was very attracted to this new man I met because he was so dedicated to his own healing. It seemed to have maximum priority in his life, and he said he wanted to overcome the intergenerational trauma from his family and become a good father and husband in the future. We became friends and started having regular video calls that went on for hours at a time. We talked about what we wanted in life, and the more I got to know him, the more I saw our values, goals, preferred lifestyle, how we wanted to raise our future children, all aligned very much. I could not believe someone like that actually existed and that I could have found someone so compatible with my own values. However, we lived in different countries and different continents, but he does not live in his country of origin. He moved a few years ago and he's only been living in the region he is in now for about 4 years. He's 32, I'm 39. After a few months, I told him I had romantic feelings for him, and I told him I thought that we were very compatible. To my surprise, he said he was open to talking about us having a romantic relationship, when he had previously mentioned he didn't want long-distance relationships. But it seemed he had assumed in his mind that I would be moving to be with him, but this was not possible for me due to health reasons, and I told him so. After that, he completely shut down the idea of us being partners and refused to consider moving himself, though I tried to come up with alternatives. He told me we could continue to be friends, and I accepted it. I really tried to move on from my romantic feelings for him and see him only as a friend, but it didn't work. And over time, he started to invite me to video call more and more often until we were seeing each other every morning and evening, almost every day, hours at a time. I left it up to him to initiate contact because he was the one who needed more space than me, and I could accommodate that. We built deep trust with each other over time and provided each other with a safe space to explore our feelings and be vulnerable. I'm circling all these words, and I'm going to come back and tell you why. I held space for him for hours while he cried. He told me about his deepest traumas. and he felt safe enough to share in a way he never did with anyone else. He told me he never felt so understood and loved. When he saw me, he told me he felt great joy, and sometimes he even mentioned it felt like heaven. The way he looked at me and these things he said all indicated to me he was in love with me, but whenever I mentioned it, he denied it and said he had already told me we could not be more than friends. But his pull toward me was very strong. We tried to put up boundaries and see each other less often, but then after a while, we ended back to seeing each other every day by his own initiative. I said yes because I felt so happy to spend time with him. I wanted it too. We had few conflicts because we understood each other well, and we had compatible values, and when a conflict did arise, we used the tools and we both had learned to overcome it relatively easily and quickly. I never knew a relationship could be so joyful and easy. We grew together and brought out the best in each other. I felt free to be myself with him. I felt accepted and loved for who I am, and he said he felt the same. I was everything he said he wanted in a partner, yet he didn't want me to be his partner. I was so confused. That word, okay? He told me he never had a romantic relationship before and had only been in love once in his life with a woman who rejected him. They never dated. He was still grieving that after more than 3 years. He said before doing this healing work, he couldn't even imagine living with a partner because he needed his space and independence, but recently the desire to have a partner and live with a partner had been very strong for him. After 1.5 years of this going back and forth, him pulling me close and telling me we should be only friends, when I pointed it out to him that he was treating me as his girlfriend, I decided that it was best for us to go no contact and move on because I could not stand it anymore when he started talking about wanting to find a partner who was not me and potentially dating other women. It's been 6 months since we broke up our friendship, and we've been in absolute no contact for 3 months. I still miss him every day, and I remember all the beautiful moments we shared and how peaceful, joyful, and safe I felt with him. We're going to come back to that. I still remember all the things he said that made me think he was in love with me and how he kept denying it. I can't understand how he could walk away from a relationship like this and imagine he can find another amazing relationship easily just because he wants a woman who lives close to him when it's not even his country of origin and he's only lived there for a few years. I've been looking all my life, working so hard to heal myself and to make relationships work. And I never found anything comparable to what I had with him. Really? I don't think I will find it again, being realistic. Honestly, I hope you don't, because you're missing the forest for the trees here, but we'll get back to that. I tried meeting new men, but they were disappointing and behaved in unhealthy ways that I'm not willing to tolerate anymore. I decided to stop looking for a new partner because it just feels like a waste of my time and energy. I need your help to give me perspective. Am I just deluding myself here thinking he is in love with me? When I asked him to give me a list of reasons why he didn't want to be my partner because I was having difficulty moving on, he refused. To give you a list of reasons. He never gave me a straight answer and got triggered and defensive whenever I tried to talk about it. The only clear reason was the distance, but to me that does not seem like a reason enough to give up the love of your life. This is an issue we could overcome if we worked together, but he didn't want to. I just feel so confused. Confused comes up again. And I can't make sense of this situation. How do I move on? How do I open myself to love someone new again when even this beautiful relationship that was more than I ever hoped for also didn't work out? It all just feels pointless and hopeless. I hope you can help me. Carlen. All right. Carlen, I can help you. I think you're not seeing it. Your perspective is hurt right now by what you've been going through. You've been in a deep, deep state of crap fitting. Crap fitting is where you fit yourself to an unacceptable situation or person or both. And it's something that we learn to do in childhood sometimes. It was a survival mechanism then, but it's a guarantee that we cannot get real love now if we cannot heal from it. So I'm going to bring the focus onto what you're doing here. I think you're lovely, and I think it's all going to turn out well for you when you can start to face reality about this relationship and let it in and let it teach you what it is that you need to learn to actually move on to a good relationship. So You had said a couple years ago you met this guy at an online school for self-development and healing from trauma. And I get a funny feels about this because in theory you could meet great friends, potentially a partner at these things, but so often people who are drawn to a program that's about healing trauma are traumatized. And you present yourself as like, well, I'm really healed and I have secure attachment, but I'm just here to tell you, Carlen, well, because you're really into this guy who won't have you and doesn't want you, it just seems like you don't have secure attachment. I would just say it's okay not to have resolved that yet. It's not failure, but where you are right now is insecurely attached and willing to jump through hoops and tie up your whole life, giving unpaid, unlicensed therapy to a guy who wants nothing more from you. And what a great deal it is for him. I'm always scoffing at that saying, why would the farmer buy the cow if he can get the milk for free? But if the milk is therapy, well, there you go. Why would he get help for himself when somebody will just listen to him and love everything he says and exalt it and think it's this amazing two-way relationship, right? But actually, you keep saying it was so whole and wonderful. And I'm just going to go through and read you other things you said that just contradict yourself there, which is why you feel confused. Because you're having trouble, I guess it's called cognitive dissonance. You're having trouble facing the reality that this is a miserable situation for you. And you want to magical think it into this really great thing. And I think we often do that when we have trauma wounds. It's really common because we don't want to leave. We have to, if it's the writings on the wall, this relationship is not going anywhere. He's going to leave you for somebody else, right? And he's looking for somebody. He feels that he has your permission because you've been so cool about it. Like, that's okay, I understand. And seeing yourself as this healer of him. So I just want to tell you, you're showing lots of signs of codependent behavior, of like, if I could just get him to heal, meaning become the person who's in love with me, which is not the same as healing. Healing for him might be being honest that that's not how he feels, not getting into a relationship with somebody he doesn't feel that for. And it's one of the hardest things to hear when you're in love with somebody, that they don't feel that way about you, but it's the most important thing to hear. Reality is our friend. Reality is where we heal. Reality is where we solve our problems and find new, cool people who will be our friends and maybe one day a partner. They're only in reality. So when we're taking a vacation in this little pink cloud of how it might be with somebody, but it isn't that way, we're basically avoiding life. We're as good as, unconscious. We're unconscious and not fully engaged in our lives. And, it does have a way of like directing your thoughts. There were a couple things here too that I thought that were a little bit glossed over. So the one was, he has a dismissive avoidant attachment style, and you thought that would be good because you could heal together. That sounds suspiciously like a fix people fantasy, which is really unhealthy. And for anybody who's on the receiving end of that, I would recommend to them, don't get together with somebody who's getting all the meaning in life from fixing you, from being like the angel of your healing. And having lived in California, Northern California most of my life, having been friends with or sometimes connected with these healing communities, this is such a common dynamic. And also where you said you're 39 and he's 32. Like, it's not unheard of that couples would have that kind of age difference when it's the woman who's older. It's not unheard of, but it's a huge risk probability that it's not going to work out for obvious reasons. So there's just all these red flags here. He's much younger than you. He has a dismissive avoidant attachment style. It's just, for me, what sounded confusing was that you're just like, I thought it was great that he had it. Like, dismissive avoidant is considered like one of the hardest attachment styles to try to connect to. If people aren't trying to overcome it and really love you and want to try, I would say chances are zero that it's going to accidentally turn into a great relationship. Yeah, I think so. You were attracted because he was so dedicated to his own healing. And I think I might just be speaking for myself and my own experiences with this. I think we can tend to spiritualize that sometimes, like spiritually bypass that we're doing healing. It's so profound. And then we can use that to like completely spackle over all the weird problems of stuff that's not working, like it's not a romantic relationship. He's healing. so we can talk ourselves into putting up with a lot of stuff that actually is maybe a red flag or worse, a no deal. So somebody who says, I'm not interested in a relationship with you, that's more than a red flag. The deal is off. And then at the point where they want to date somebody else and you're still hoping or feeling angry or ripped off or anything, my job today, as I see it, is to help you turn that and see that the person to be angry at is yourself for holding on to this situation with magical thinking. And then I don't want you to be angry at yourself another minute, but just to know like, oh, you're making that choice. You can unmake that choice. You can unmake that choice and set yourself free from this belief that you have to change other people to get loved. I can just tell you from experience what a sad belief that is, what an impossibility it is to have to change other people at all. And if you have to do that to get love, there are two things that aren't going to work. They're not going to change, and you're not going to get loved. But it's a trauma-driven behavior, and it's really common. It's really common. And many people here will understand. And I hope you can send some love to Carlen for the spell she's under right now. Just help her gently wake up out of it and see how the path to true love is out of this crap fit relationship. Isn't that funny? It always feels like somehow I've just got to find love in my current relationship. But the shortest path to real love is out of a relationship where you can never get what you want. The shortest path is free of that so that you're free to heal yourself, not other people, not to get enamored with somebody else's healing. In fact, if you're a person with trauma wounds, if you possibly can kind of match up with somebody who's not very wounded, that would be nice. That's just like that much less to work out between you. It's not how it always works, but I wouldn't aim for it. I wouldn't prize it as somebody who's, I love people who have been through trauma. And I would be so sad if I had to go back in time and try to make things work with people who were totally living their trauma, which I have before. I've been the person, and then I've tried to work it out with other people, and I feel exhausted when I even think about it. And I just want to tell you there's another way. You can heal yourself, and you can get together with somebody who's more or less, good how they are, and you accept how they are, and there's not this vision of changing them and having to be their therapist and stuff for them to become available to you. They're available in present time, and they're really interested in you. That is a good situation. And yes, it's very good if they live in the same city as you. So you learned a lot about dismissive avoidance style because two of your previous partners had it, and you poured out your heart trying to understand them and improve the relationships. So I think that's very telling that you'd done it before and you just thought now they didn't work out. So then you said, but you felt a great appreciation and care about the challenges and qualities of people with this kind of attachment style. Whatever you want to call their failure to love, care, or be present for you, I would stay away from people who don't love you, care about you, or present for you, and stop trying to be understanding and appreciative of those traits, of those hurtful traits, of you not getting love. Start to be understanding of your own traits, is that you're irresistibly drawn to people who can't love you. That's the thing that you need to be healing, and that's what needs your compassion. Because how can we possibly face these things if we don't simultaneously just get it? I know why I'm like this. It's really hard. I'm doing it again. I need some help. And I'll say it right here. Help for this type of thing requires both tools that are very directly useful to you to stay in reality and keep taking steps towards improvement, and then a community of people, women in this case, who are also on this path of healing and who will help you stay awake and who will befriend you and be your companion when having to face reality means having to give up and go home from somebody you've been dating, to withdraw and hang out with your friends. When you have friends to go back to and life is good with them, it's not so terrifying to face reality with a partner. And I do think that's, especially if you grew up with abuse and neglect, when you end up in this kind of crap fit relationship and you're not getting the love, it can feel so terrifying to leave because you have these abandonment wounds, that make it so emotionally frightening and intense and unbearable to deal with partings, even when you know it wasn't any good, even when you know, there's no way I'm going to get that love that I want in this relationship. I need to go, but you can't. So friends are what break that up. So tools to face reality and friends who are in reality with you. So not the kind of friends who are like, oh, they're just pigs, or, oh, people in your situation, there's a whole industry of people who will give them tarot card readings and psychic readings, and even therapists will do this sometimes, enabling a continued obsession with somebody for reasons that we can guess at, but are not healthy. It's not healthy to have somebody who makes money off of your continued attachment to somebody who doesn't want you. If that's going on in your life, it's time to stop two relationships. The person who you're paying for that and the person you're obsessing on. When you have somebody who loves you, it will gradually come together. It's probably going to be gradual, and it will be good. And that person will want to be with you, and they will want you romantically and sexually. That is what partner is. Yep, that's what it is. And if it's not that, it's a friend. And can I tell you something about structured dating? This thing where you guys were on video conference for hours twice a day is enmeshment. And enmeshment starts to cloud everybody's vision. And that's where you really lost your boundaries, I think, is trying to get all your needs met through this time on a little computer or phone, It's really sad, actually. I want you to stand outside of it and go, of course you can't get your needs met from a voice on a phone for hours a day. Like, think of all the things that you weren't doing with your hours that could have made your life happy and full rather than alone, right? I guess we can say that about any relationship that doesn't work out. But that is the extreme of avoidance. And sometimes I like to challenge people who are in pain because they've been with an avoidant, of like, being that you stayed so long and you kept enabling the situation, is it possible you're avoidant too? That what you like is to feel very passionately in love, but not ever have to really deal with somebody or take the risk of actually having face-to-face life. And you say, because of health reasons, and I don't understand, you couldn't go to him. And it's totally understandable that somebody doesn't want to change cities for a relationship that's new. It would have to be very serious. So you asked for perspective, and I can just see you had very strong feelings about him. He did not have those about you. He was just very, very happy to, I call this squeezing somebody like a lemon. I have videos about it where you can macerate the lemon. You can, kind of work it up so that all the cells are ruptured. And when you cut that lemon open, it just pours out all the juice. You poured yourself into him. You used the word pour about your earlier relationships. That's for you. That like life force in you, that thing that you have to give to another person, that's for you until you give it to somebody who is giving it reciprocally back to you. And we jump the gun on that sometimes when we have attachment wounds. We jump the gun. We're just like, I think this is love. It just really, it quacks like a duck. I just know it's love, even though he keeps saying, no, it's not. That's not what I want. But it must be. And I'll pour it out and somehow get it. So yeah, that's insecure attachment in action. You're so not alone with it. But that's why we have each other to go, oh no, that's you losing your life force and losing months of your life, pouring out that energy and time and attention that you could be using to build your health, your financial security, your friendships, your joy, your pursuits, your career, and of course, the possibility of finding that one person that you want to be with forever. So you can't do that when you're pouring all the lemon juice away down the drain. You don't register as available energetically, and healthy people detect that. They just know you're not available. So that's not going to come into your life. So the solution is you do what you did before. You cut it off, and you're going to have to feel those feelings, and you're going to need tools to cope with the feelings. They're just feelings. They're sadness about what might have been, not what was. And yeah, you're missing somebody that you used to talk to every day. But who was blocking you from having real full love in the physical dimension, in a home with you, making the bed together, gardening, going to the grocery store, spending birthdays together, deciding what you're going to do for Christmas. All of these things are the joys of real life. And to have that with another person is a real and beautiful thing. And marriage, if that's what it is you want, is a completion to that process for those who want it. And I think it's wonderful. Getting married is really great when it's the right person. So I hope you won't pour out any more of your life force. You have this precious thing to give. The love of you is a precious, precious thing, and there are many people who would like to have it and who would treat you very well to have it. Your job is to find out who are they, who is that one, and that means kind of sitting back and letting information come to you. I have a list of things that would be very helpful to you as you are doing this discernment, and it's about signs that somebody is a great partner. And I want you to have this printed out and keep it with you everywhere you go. And if you should ever end up on a video conference call with somebody, have it right there, the signs of a good partner. If you want that, anybody can have it. You can download it by clicking right here, and I'll see you very soon.